3, 2, 1. Sardonicast, Sardonicast, and that's about as much as I'm singing before I get copyright claimed, probably. That's from 101 Dalmatian, because this is episode 101. This is Adam from Your Movie
You beat
Sucks.
me to the joke.
Oh? Hello.
I'm Alex from HG. Yeah, I was going to make a 101 Dalmatians joke.
Oh, what were you going to say?
I should have recommended it for this episode. I was going to make some,
fuck. Yeah, well, I'm glad you didn't.
Who else is here with us?
Because I had just seen it, so
as well.
it.
Yeah.
Ralph.
What's up? How are you?
The Sussy Baka, everybody.
I gotta introduce myself. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ralph the Movie Maker at youtube.com/Ralph the Movie Maker.
We did it. How's everybody doing?
Good. I wanted to get right into Eternals, but
there's some movie things we can talk about.
And movie news.
I mean, we could say that it doesn't really matter. I just usually like to get the movie news stuff out of the way first.
Yeah, okay.
There's got to be something interesting happening.
There's a couple kind of funny things happening.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is Ridley Scott blaming millennials for the last duel bombing. I don't understand why. When it was I watched the trailer. It was one of those things where it was like, oh, are people talking about this? No, not really. You know, I didn't.
Have any of us seen it?
No.
But he's like, this is for people who don't spend their lives on their phones. Like, it's a really dismissive,
what does that mean? What does he mean
weird way of looking at the world. Here, let's see. Here's the full quote. I think what it boils down to, what we've got today, are audiences who were brought up on these fucking cell phones. The millennials do not ever want to be taught anything unless you're told it on a cell phone, Scott said. This is a broad stroke, but I think we're dealing with it right now with Facebook. This is a misdirection that has happened where it's given the wrong kind of confidence to this latest generation, I think. Boomer. What else can you say to that?
Yeah, just blame the audience.
Yeah, there's so many attempts around me from people I know and people in my chat or whatever to be like, man, Zoomers are so fucked because they were raised in this way and they have the blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, people are saying that about our generation. Like, don't turn into that, you know? Don't be that guy that everybody turns into, or girl, you know? Don't just turn into a boomer because things are different for the younger generation.
And anyway, I'm sure there'll be plenty of Zoomers that will watch it on their phone and become fans of him as a result.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, they're going to watch it on their phones. They're going to be like, wow, this is great.
If it's great, I don't know. People were saying it's like, oh, this is underrated, but I don't know. It looks pretty average to me. I'll check it out, maybe. He also directs way too movies too quickly. Like, he's got House of...
Well, he directed two movies
Gucky
this year, yeah.
coming out.
House of Gucci.
So that was both him. I was confused by that.
Yeah. Very close proximity.
Man,
and that last duel was like 2 hours, over 2 hours long.
Yeah,
2.5 hours. I'm looking at it here.
Long ass movie.
He's promoting his movie in theaters by complaining about his other movie in theaters not being watched.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know. People are gonna watch. Is House of Gucky? Is that out right now already? Is it in theaters?
I think it's just coming out now, right?
Yeah. Like, people are gonna watch that probably. It has the word Gucky in it. People wear Gucky. There's the right actors in it. Just the last duel looks so generic. Like, if you're a marketing team trying to create a trailer for a movie, like, they did a great job if they were trying to make it look like a billion things I've already seen before. Otherwise, they did not do a good job at selling the movie.
Yeah, it looks pretty throwaway.
He directed Alien, so I'm not going to shit on him too hard.
He directed Alien Covenant, Ralph.
Yeah.
What do you say about that?
Still directed Alien. And then like Gladiator.
Forget about that one.
Black Hawk Down. Yeah, he's directed great movies.
Yeah. Absolves him from everything.
He's a little old. You're right.
He's a real Roman Polanski.
Kind of fart. He's an old fart.
Yeah.
He's just like, fucking phones. I don't know why they always put fucking in front of like the cell phones, right?
It's a personal vendetta.
Angry and aggressive.
It's always it's always very aggressive.
This is what's killing movies. It's like, I don't know, maybe not really.
All these kids fucking cell phones. Like,
Yeah.
What?
He's seen Spike Jonze's Her too many times. He thinks we're at that stage.
Yeah. He thinks they're fucking cell phones.
Kids fucking their cell
Yeah,
phones.
literally.
God damn it. Taken away from the movie industry. Yeah, not too much to say about that other than he's a boomer and
Yeah, he's old.
Yeah.
We're just teasing him. He's still directed Alien.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, boomer. Yeah.
There's another movie news thing that I wanted to mention. I thought that you two would find this interesting. Vin Diesel has made a public plea to Dwayne Johnson to return to Fast and Furious 10 on his Instagram.
Let's do it.
And it's really funny just the way that this is phrased. It's like
guys.
just so much more dramatic than you would expect for this type of story. He says, "My little brother Dwayne, the time has come. The world awaits the finale of Fast 10. As you know, my children refer to you as Uncle Dwayne in my house. There is not a holiday that goes by that they and you don't send well wishes. But the time has come. Legacy awaits. I told you years ago that I was going to fulfill my promise to Pablo. I swore that we would reach and manifest the best fast in the finale. That is 10. That's what it says.
I'm reading it too. Yeah.
Holy fuck.
I say this out of love, but you must show up. Do not leave the franchise idle. You have a very important role to play. Hobbs can't be played by no other. I hope that you rise to the occasion
Hobbs.
and fulfill your destiny." Like, why is this public?
Hobbs can't be played by no other.
Yeah, that's
funny.
weird.
Yeah, why is this public?
The sanctity of the Fast and Furious franchise. Like, we can't.
The pictures, like the two of them together, like a still.
Yeah,
from the
they're
movie.
about to kiss. Like,
It's
really
2 million. Yeah, 2 million likes. That's really funny. I wonder if that's serious or like I don't know. I have no fucking idea.
Were they publicly like beefing before? Because I'd only heard
Yeah,
about the Tyrese
kinda.
drama.
Oh,
where
what?
They all...
I have no idea.
Yeah, Tyrese got angry at The Rock for doing remember the spin-off one, Hobbs and Shaw, with like Ryan Reynolds and everything. He got angry at him for making that because he wasn't in it and he wanted money, I guess. So it always comes down to money.
That's funny.
Why would The
It's
Rock
like
not be in it? It's like a huge franchise.
It's a money thing.
They're probably
money
paying
thing,
him more
yeah.
for other movies because he's like the highest paid actor in Hollywood still, I think. Like, he's got a high price tag.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you think Fast and Furious can keep him, you know?
True.
Yeah. It's kind of I don't know if it's an ego thing. It's definitely like Dwayne Johnson's a leading man and so is Vin Diesel. So
they
that kind of, they're butting heads. Yeah. Like there's a thing in their contract, I don't know, this kind of public that like they can't win a fight or they can't lose a fight. Sorry. Neither of them can lose a fight.
That is
like
so
in
lame
the
and
series.
anti
So
like,
funny.
action hero to me.
Right?
Though. It's so stupid.
So it's stuff like that. It's not really a beef. It's just like their images are kind of clashing.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of interesting, but that's
And
an
we
interesting
miss out as a result.
proposition,
That's a
Vin
shame.
Diesel.
It's
Yeah.
very silly. Like, it's like LARPing, which I guess Vin Diesel
yeah,
loves
you can
doing.
tell
but-
he's like a nerd who loves D&D and
Yeah.
stuff, can't you?
Yeah.
He wrote that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a character with Fast and Furious too, because it's like the dumbest franchise.
Yeah, The Rock has a lot of other things going on for him. I'm not sure Vin Diesel does. What is Vin Diesel
So,
in
yeah,
other than
he's-
Fast and Furious right now?
Like, yeah. I
Riddick.
guess that's why he's begging him on Instagram.
Please
publicly
help
to
my
try and
movie
get him into the
succeed.
project.
Oh, he's in Guardians, I guess. He does
He
Groot.
was in Bloodshot. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, he
Is there
says
another
"I
one
am
of those
Groot."
coming out, I guess? I don't know.
That's all he says.
Yeah, he says, I
Yeah.
am Groot.
There's a third one. He's in the Avengers too, because Groot's in those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're filming the third
but
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's not a hard role.
I had forgotten if a third Guardians of the Galaxy had come out already or not. It could be either way for me until I saw that the IMDb page.
So,
Well, thanks, Vin Diesel, for publicly trying to convince your friend who you say is like your best friend ever and your children send Christmas letters to. But you need to do it publicly to, I guess, I don't know, shame him into being in the next movie? Like, what's that about? Thanks.
yeah, everyone go to his Instagram and leave a comment. And
Yeah,
that might
it's like
convince him.
applying public pressure on somebody to do something like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's weird. You could just, if it means a lot to you and you're such great friends, you could just tell him like a real person
Mhm.
and not
Send him a
do it
text or something.
publicly.
Yeah.
Unless it's just a publicity stunt or something. I don't know. Eternals. Good segue.
Oh.
We watched it.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus. Did we watch it?
Ralph had a out-of-body experience.
Yeah. With this, yeah, I did.
It gave me an out-of-body experience.
Oh.
Just pure boredom.
Yeah.
Yeah, falling asleep.
I transcended my body in boredom. Pure boredom. It's been a while since I felt like trapped in a movie theater. Just like, what section of the movie am I in right now? Like, what act is this? Like, what is this building to? And it didn't really build to much in the end, and I was just kind of miserably bored for its runtime. Like, I can't believe it for just all the star power, and there's just the mistakes that superhero movies have been making for years. You know, like too many villains in this movie, but this is taking it to the next level where it's like, we're gonna be really ballsy and establish 12 characters at the same time. You know?
Yeah, they are blowing their load a little early.
Right, in a universe that already has like tons of other things happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they're
but with
too
kind
busy.
of a different visual like tone. Like it's kind of weird for a Marvel movie. It looks more like a Chloe Zhao movie for a lot of it, but it's trying to wedge in that Marvel humor at the same time, and these kind of awkward references to the stuff you'd expect. Like, oh yeah, is this made of vibranium? Is this?
I mean, you say it looks like a Chloe Zhao movie. I think it looks bad. It looks bad. That's how I think it looks.
I mean, yeah.
I think it just looks bad.
I can understand people that say that, though, because it is like the tone of this Marvel film is weirdly like detached, but who knows whether or not that was like an intentional thing from Chloe. You know, maybe it's just how it turned out because the characters aren't properly developed. Who knows? maybe she is doing
possible.
a weird
There's a lot of
writers
credited, so
it feels completely disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it's not even part of like the rest of what's been going on. It doesn't really set up anything either. That's not anything interesting. We can get into it. Spoiler section.
Spoilers. This feels like the least personal story.
Okay.
Out of every Marvel film that I've ever seen. Like there's no journey in this film. It's kind of just you're watching characters.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. There's no origin really.
Yeah, it's so detached.
Yeah,
like who's the main Eternal? Who gets the most development?
Cersei. And that was distracting. I don't know if it was for you because you know you have Cersei and then Richard Madden and you know Jon Snow and Robb Stark are in the movie saying "I love you, Cersei" or whatever. I just kept thinking of Game of Thrones.
They all have different accents, and so throughout the film, I heard Cersei, I heard Sussy, I heard seriously, and at the very, I'm not even kidding. Yeah, at one point she was definitely called Sussy by somebody, and at the very beginning of the film, when she introduced herself, he's like, "I'm Icarus" or whatever, and she's like, "I'm sassy." I swear to God, she said, "I'm sassy."
If her name was Sussy Baka, I would have liked the movie.
Oh yeah.
I wish there was more sass in the movie. I wish there was a bit more personality.
I was so confused.
Yeah,
I was confused too.
I think it was Cersei, but it was spelled differently than the Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
you know, I don't know what this movie was trying to do. Like one of the characters was Sprite. That was her name.
Yeah, what did you think of Sprite, Ralph?
Thought she sucked.
Who was that?
It was like the child that was the Eternal that was trapped in the body of a child that wouldn't age, so she didn't get to live a normal life.
Yeah, she was in love with Richard Madden, but they could never be together because she was in the body of a child.
Because it would be weird.
But she's really like a 1,000-year-old man or woman, 1,000-year-old woman. You know, like they're all thousands of years old. So I don't understand. Like, it just doesn't. Like, why would you even want to think about that in a Marvel movie, though?
It is weird.
Yeah, it's weird concept.
They spend a lot of time justifying a lot of weird shit in this movie, right. And like half the dialogue is like, "Here's why we didn't stop 9/11." Like, what the fuck? Because when wars happen, the population increases.
Yeah, what did you think of that subtle moment?
We have to let them nuke each other.
Like, rule set, wasn't it? They're not allowed to interfere with humanity, but they've got to just watch it.
They said that like only when the deviants are involved, like can they interfere. But then they justify it later by saying that they were only allowed to interfere when the deviants were involved because the deviants were killing the human population, whereas nukes weren't, and were increasing the population because the medicine and science that happens during war is a good thing. It's like, you're taking a lot of risk by letting nukes go off, though, first of all. Second, they casually just explain, like, oh yeah, none of us did anything during the Thanos snap. But they flat out said that because of the Thanos snap, that the big boy, whatever his name was, the thing that they're trying to birth out of the planet, they specifically stated this was delayed by like 4 years because of this. So it's like, well, why weren't they allowed to help out then? Because the other ones that they weren't allowed to help out with, that was justified by saying, no, the population increased. And so it's just like, they're spending so much fucking time trying to explain this shit that just makes less and less sense the more they explain it. And it's like half the movie. It's so weird.
Sure.
Yeah, if not more.
Yeah.
Just trying to explain the whole Eternals thing and that godlike being, which kind of has some cool imagery, I guess, with just the scale of it.
Let's justify ourselves.
Yeah, with the way the story kind of unravels and these villainous characters, the deviants, that are kind of like these squid dogs, and it's got this gimmick where it's gradually kind of evolving over the movie. So by the time it has a personality or begins to have one, it's kind of already dealt with and it gets no development, which is just a running theme with basically every asset of the movie.
There's way too much going on.
It's
there's just so much going on.
It's just the same aliens from every other modern Alien film, like War for Tomorrow. What was that Chris Pratt one? End of Tomorrow. Fucking
the most
Live Die Repeat, like every single fucking alien.
Live Die Repeat's much better than either of these.
It doesn't. I'm talking about the creature design, though. I'm talking about like specifically the alien design.
Yeah, well,
it's just
these were just like a total ripoff of those creatures.
Exactly.
Like, it was almost
like,
exactly
it's so
the same.
creatively bankrupt. Like these are aliens now in pop culture. Like this is what aliens look like when they want to kill you.
I didn't even put that together until you just said it. But yeah, it's like the exact same aliens.
Yeah. Laziest
and it's just like so
character
thrown
design.
in. Like, here are the deviants. Okay, what the fuck are these things? That's what I kept thinking about everything.
And what about when they're actually interacting with the Eternals, the way they fight and the way they clash? There's like no tension to anything. Because they're these like, it's people have been comparing it to Man of Steel a lot, where it's like just these invincible creatures like slamming into each other. And it was reminding me of that too, because that film's also kind of distant and has a cold tone, and Eternals is similar. And it really clashes with the Marvel formula in terms of that stuff. And just the cast jumping all over the place. We haven't even mentioned like multiple characters, like Kingo. He's kind of the comic relief for a section of the movie, and then just as that's about to develop into something, he just kind of leaves. It's really odd.
The guy from Killing of the Sacred Deer, his name's Druig,
who's also plays Speed in the Snyder Cut or Flash. I mean, right.
In the Snyder
Does
Cut?
he play Flash?
No, is that the same guy? Who's the other guy?
That's Ezra Miller.
Oh my
Flash.
god, I'm getting them confused. You're absolutely right.
Oh, okay.
They're both like weird young white people.
Yeah. They kind of different looking. Like, Ezra Miller's like skinnier.
I just rewrote it in my brain.
Yeah.
I'm in the Berenstein universe.
What else is he? He's in Killing of the Sacred Deer. But, he's a good actor, and here he's barely in it. Like you said, there's a ton of other shit going on. I'm like, he could have been cool, but he's not in it. No one's in it.
His powers are one of the more interesting ones, because each Eternal has a completely different gimmick, too, which, again, barely gets any exploration. And it's kind of cool. The main woman has, like, healing powers, where everyone else has something kind of more destructive going on, and she's, like, essential to fixing the problem that comes up with these big beings, but...
See, I don't even remember
that. It's so forgettable.
Yeah.
Talking about remembering anything. Like, I saw this film weeks ago and trying to remember anything from it. I'm kind of dreading when I'm going to have to sit down and rewatch this to, like, figure it out. But
it's necessary. It's the most important thing you'll ever do.
So much stuff that's just wrong with this movie.
I mean, just like in the end fight scene, I was still trying to figure out, like, which one of you can fly? Like... I didn't know what anybody's powers were for the most part. Like, some of them I understood. But, there's a big fight scene, and I don't really have a grasp of, like, what options each character has at any given moment. It's kind of weird. It kind of takes a bit out of it.
Yeah, it's very forgettable, too.
Yeah, and just their limitations are never properly explained or explored. Like, there's a character who can kind of bring them back to life who's dealt with, so they deal with that sort of side of it. I guess spoilers. Do people care about spoilers for this one?
Yeah, I think we said spoilers.
Yeah, the way they use the powers and shit and the way they clash is... I didn't really have trouble picking up on the powers. I was just waiting for them to do something like creative or interesting with them. They were so kind of dull. Like the Kingo guy, his are just... He like puts his hands into pew pew gun shapes and shoots out like energy blasts. It's like, okay, I mean, kind of hoping for something a bit more exciting at this point. Like if this is supposed to be the new sort of vision for the MCU and the new starting off point for a new type of story or something, a new set of characters we're supposed to care about. I mean, I don't necessarily want to see any of these guys or gals again. They're pretty dull lot.
Yeah.
Is there an Eternals 2 coming?
I hope not.
There's no way there's not. Like, can we talk about the after credits thing? Did you guys stick around for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fucking weird. Why did it turn into Shrek?
What the fuck was it? Can you explain it? What was going on?
Thanos' brother or something?
Like a CG, like...
Oh, yeah, the Harry Styles. Oh, yeah, that one's just fucking dumb. Thanos' brother played by Harry Styles. Yeah, I don't know what that was. And then the one after, they set up Kit Harington to be Black Knight, who's like some comic character I've never heard of. And then I guess Blade is there. You can't tell it's Blade, but like the voice, yeah, that's Blade. The voice is Mahershala Ali.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's only in the second Blade. After credit teaser.
Yeah. And like, if you don't recognize his voice, you have no idea who that is. So you're just like, okay. I guess because they don't have like a costume ready for Blade yet, or like, you know, I don't know.
I didn't even know Blade was a Marvel thing.
Yeah.
Really?
Huh.
That's who it was.
I actually haven't seen the movies.
So that was disappointing. And yeah.
And then with Harry Styles, he's with this like CG goblin thing, which
like
it
leprechaun
looked pretty messed up. Like it didn't
terrible.
look the best in terms of, the effects weren't great, which I mean, it's not normally something that is a highlight of these Marvel movies in terms of bad effects. Normally they're at least at the very... at least as a standard, but this was like noticeably bad. I don't know if it was like a bit rushed because of the whole Harry Styles inclusion and it just being a quick job. But man, that was weird. I didn't really get that.
Weird. Very distracting. Yeah, I kind of hated the movie. It might be the worst Marvel film.
Yeah,
actually, I'm pretty sure it actually is. Actually, I'm pretty
according to a lot of people.
I think Thor 2. I think Thor 2 is better.
Haven't seen Thor 2.
It doesn't set running up time that does it interesting. For me. Sure, but this doesn't set up anything like interesting in that world. Is Thor 2 longer?
No, I'm just trying to find out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This runtime, it was ridiculously long. And it was just so slow.
Yeah, that might make it one of the worst ones purely on that alone. Like, it does not need to be that excruciatingly long.
Yeah, you just have no connection to any of these characters. They all suck. They don't establish them before this movie. There's no build up to anything. Yeah, I really hated it.
Yeah.
This movie sucks. I get why people just don't like it.
I wasn't as bored or hated it as much for like the first, I don't know, half or something. Like, I went into it expecting it to be long. I went into it expecting it to be kind of boring. So I was like, I'm pretty good at just checking myself out internally and just being like, oh, I'll just think about some other things. So I'm just good at like keeping myself entertained. Like, I'll write something in my head. I don't know. But yeah, it was
that's funny.
It was somewhere near the end of the movie where I was like, wait, now we're doing the end, and it's like nothing's really happened this entire. Like, you've wasted this entire movie. With the runtime, you could maybe, I don't know, begin to attempt developing some of these characters, but they really didn't. Like, they kind of almost did, maybe in some of them. No. But there's so many of them, and I don't know. Like, you either need to have different films beforehand leading up to this point with like different stories. Or just have less characters, or I don't know. I don't know what the solution is here. It seems like just a bad idea from the get-go.
Yeah, it's weird. They betrayed their formula they created and kind of harnessed over the years. And now they're like, oh, let's just fall into all the pitfalls all of our competitors have for years. Yeah, but now it's them doing it. So,
which is very interesting.
Super boring.
And it's not okay when they do it. Yeah, it's just as bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you mentioned the influence of Man of Steel before, because the director said she was inspired by Man of Steel, in some way making this movie.
Oh, really?
Wow. And I could see that kind of with,
that's kind of funny.
The character like Icarus. I can see that, right? Like kind of dark tone, I guess. And yeah, it's just like the fact that the movie is not good. That the movie's like a mess. Like, it feels like yeah, you can tell. It feels like someone inspired by Man of Steel or Batman vs Superman. It's one of those kinds of movies.
Their powers also just like aren't interesting. They just feel like knockoff versions of other superhero characters. One of them just is the Flash, except she's deaf.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's one of them that's basically just Superman.
The flashbacks too were just really padded the movie out.
Yeah, that was weird.
The pacing. And they were flashing back like 4,000 years, a ridiculous amount of time. Back to like ancient Mesopotamia. Like,
the timeline was
and they were talking they were talking like the same way. They were talking like how we talk now.
True.
They probably talked differently back then.
Yeah, that's funny.
It was so dumbed down just to like make the story work. I don't know. I feel like nothing was thought out. Like nothing made sense. The characters were all bad, like every single character. At least Thor 2 has Loki in some parts.
And it's under 2 hours. Wow. Yeah.
Worst Marvel movie, but there's quite a few DC movies that are worse than this, in my opinion.
That's true.
Yeah.
Which is funny. Yeah.
It might be better than some of the DC movies. Yeah, that's a compliment to the movie.
Yeah. It's still not as bad as a couple of them.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about this as the worst Marvel movie, but you're making some strong points here. I really don't want to see this again, ever, really. It is so bloated.
What could come close to being the worst Marvel movie for you? I haven't seen all of them, so...
I guess previously it was Thor 2, and that was just because it was like such an example of a just nothing Marvel movie. Like it finishes and then like it's gone from your brain type movie. But this is like a different type of problem for Marvel. This is like it's really missing the mark entirely. It's not even trying to go for the more goofy tone they've gone for before. They're trying something different and really failing hard. And they didn't really commit to what this story needed.
Yeah, I don't know where you begin to fix it.
By throwing it in the trash.
Yeah, start over.
They needed to prove why we need to care about the Eternals, Like they made us care about like Guardians of the Galaxy. Like no one knew about those characters before those movies. Like only comic book nerds did. But they found a way, they found an angle.
It was also like a personal journey despite there being a bunch of characters there. Like there was a clear lead. It was Chris Pratt. Like
Star-Lord, yeah. Yeah,
you don't... I haven't even seen Guardians that many. I've seen it like twice, maybe. And I remember vividly, like, there's the story about, the cassette tape and the old music and his mom or whatever, like there's like a parental thing going. Like there's some sort of personal story attached in there that's like relatable for audience members. It's humorous, it doesn't take itself way too seriously. I don't even think the movie's amazing or anything, but like there's such clear examples of why it succeeds narratively, whereas Eternals is just a big fucking mess. Like, what is it supposed to be?
Yeah, there's about a million reasons. It's more of a comedy too, Guardians. That helps it a lot. This movie is not funny. It's not funny at all. I don't think it tries to be.
They attempt a few jokes in here, but they don't land. I don't know if the audiences you were with connected with that side of it, but it was pretty quiet in the theater I saw it in.
If I wasn't looking at the poster right now, I would have thought there were like 6 characters in the movie and not 10. I wouldn't have like the full count in my mind.
We haven't even mentioned like Angelina Jolie. She's in
there
this movie for some reason. She's
oh my god!
She does
finally
stuff.
In the Marvelverse.
She was just such a non-factor. She's barely in the movie. She was not a part of it. She didn't really have any moments.
She went crazy once.
Well, the thing with her memories was ridiculous. They have to like erase her memories, otherwise she has like these random spurts where she tries to kill everyone.
Yeah, that's weird.
It is weird. It doesn't make any sense. It's just like, okay, so why don't you erase your memory instead of like randomly attacking people? Like, and then it's like at the most inconvenient time she gets attacked.
There's a reveal at some point in the movie where the Eternals are revealed to be these synthetic creations.
Yeah.
And it was something to do with that, like her programming
they're
going
like
wrong.
cyborgs.
So, okay, it's way more stupid than,
like
than
mechanical.
you're giving it credit right now. So the
It's
big,
way more stupid. Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
The big boy created the deviants.
Galactus kind of looks like.
He created the deviants, and then he was like, "Oops, I forgot that things evolve sometimes." So because the deviants evolved, they were like, "Well, let's kill humans." And they were like, "This is the opposite of what I wanted to happen." And the reason why he the reason why they need humans is for an energy source on the planet to create another big boy, but the energy source has to be smart. It has to be like a smart species for some reason. You can't just have energy from dumb species. So he created the Eternals.
They have to develop them.
Yeah, he created the Eternals synthetically and made them very diverse, one of them deaf and one of them a large gay black man. And just to protect human beings throughout history. And he said that they can't interfere with anything unless it's the deviants doing things. And it doesn't make any sense. So why would you give the Eternals the capability of changing their minds after, first of all? Like, you've made that mistake basically with the evolution thing. You've created the Eternals specifically so that they can't evolve. That's why they're eternal. That's why they don't age. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, what? Either create them in a way where they can't change their mind when they find out that you lied to them, or don't lie to them and just tell them from the beginning so they don't get attached to this civilization or whatever. Or just don't even tell them that you're doing it. Like, why did he tell was it Cersei?
Or just don't make the movie.
Like, why did he tell them?
The Sussy.
Yeah, because like the Icarus character and Salma Hayek or whatever, like, they found out he had to kill her over it. And so then the big boy, for some reason, despite it being very clear that the Eternals aren't going to take this lightly, that they're going to probably disagree with this, and Icarus knows this because he just had to kill Salma Hayek over it, but then the big boy just tells Cersei, he's like, "Yep, this is what we're going to do." And then she's like, "Oh, I don't want to do this." And then that's the whole conflict of the movie, is that she doesn't want to do it. It's like, you created them. Why did you tell them? Why did you lie to them? There's like a billion other things that could have happened. Like, none of it makes any sense. We're supposed to believe that you're some like gigantic celestial being that's like some god or some shit. You can just create things out of nowhere. It sounds like you're a fucking idiot. Like, sounds like you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that, like, okay, these clockwork people, mechanical people, like, they erase their memory every 1,000 years, or thousands of years. Like, once they wipe out a planet, they erase their memory. So, like, Angelina Jolie, she needs her memories erased, otherwise she's, like, trying to kill everyone. But it's like, they've done it tons of times already, like, just erase her memory so she doesn't, like, try to kill everyone, like, at the most inconvenient points in the story. Like, and then, like, of course, like, she starts trying to kill, like, I think Gilgamesh or something, like one of the other guys, and gets him killed, like, and it's like such a, like, thrown in plot point. Like, it's so contrived, so convenient. Like, if they just, like, erased her memory, then none of that would have happened. Like, like, why isn't she doing that? Like, it's kind of the more likable, heroic thing to do, would just be to erase your memory.
Oops.
I remember them abusing a lot of the kind of hero shots as well, as if, like, they're like doing it when the Avengers come together and stuff, and then they play like the fanfare, and they were doing it here a lot, but
it doesn't work.
It just wasn't earned at all. So it's like,
you don't have the connection with those characters. Yeah, in the Avengers, you know, Captain America, he has his own movies, and Thor, and here it's like Richard Madden, like, kills one of the deviants and he comes out of like a storefront, and they do like that hero shot, like you're saying. There's no connection to this guy. You've known him for 5 minutes. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not, it doesn't have the impact. Yeah. That's why I don't know why even they chose to do this.
They had a lot of shots of the sun in the background and like lens flare behind the characters as it, like, the character moves over the sun. They're like, wow, I'm just seeing the same shots over and over in this movie. And Chloe thinks it's really cool looking, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, this makes me worried for X-Men. This makes me worried for Fantastic Four. Like, any movie with, like, a group of people.
X-Men and Fantastic Four, I mean, at least they're a bit more defined and, like, culturally known, you know?
Yeah, people know who they are a bit more.
And also, you can't get much worse than Fant Four Stick anyway. Right? We've had the worst.
Yeah, it hasn't had a great record, that franchise.
Josh Trank.
The Trankster. So this movie made $368 million worldwide, is what it says.
That's nothing.
Yeah, because it cost $200 million to make. Who knows how much they spent on advertising? So I don't know. This is teetering the line between like flop and it's certainly not a success.
It's a flop. It should have made $1 billion. It's a flop.
It seems like they were probably hoping for $1 billion, but
yeah, they probably would hope for that. So what do? Do they abandon their plans? They've never had to abandon their plans so far, but they put a lot of money into this whole cast and everything, and they clearly wanted a future with the teasers and the credits and stuff.
Yeah, maybe they should have made a good movie.
Yeah,
yeah,
they should have. This is terrible. 150 domestically. Like, watch how well Spider-Man does. Even Shang-Chi was better than this.
Mm-hmm.
Shang-Chi was much better.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
Mm-hmm. Even Black Widow was better than this. I don't even like Black Widow. Black Widow's incredibly bland. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really bland. Actually, I forgot I saw that. That kind of falls into that Thor 2 category for me, where I just forgot I even saw it. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm. For sure. This is still worse. This is like one of the worst movies of the year. This will make like my worst of lists. This is terrible.
There's a big meme over the Disney promoting like, oh, we refuse to edit the gay scenes out of this movie. And I'm looking it up right now. It turns out that the reality is a little bit more nuanced. So the film was not released in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, I don't know how to pronounce these, Bahrain, and Oman due to the depiction of a gay couple. However, theaters in the UAE, Jordan, Lebanon, and Egypt will be showing an edited version of the film, which is missing all the love scenes. So yeah, apparently not every country.
Wow.
Jesus. Yeah, so they're just editing it out.
Yeah.
Not like they're missing anything.
It's not like
the movie itself and those scenes. It doesn't add anything to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like
it's not like you can't edit it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, looks like it's just depending on the country for some reason. I don't know why. They're making certain edits for certain countries, but not every country, which is weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, super weird.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait for their next movie with their first gay character every year. Keeps happening.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, I don't know, anything else to say about fucking the best Marvel movie? The only reason I saw it is because it was negatively received. I never would have watched this.
Why'd you watch it?
Just because it was like, the headlines were like, this is the lowest scored Marvel movie ever on Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, this seems interesting.
Audiences didn't respond to it either. Like, no one likes this movie. This is not a good movie.
Yeah, it doesn't even have the usual Defender squad.
There's some diehard Marvel fans that like it. It doesn't have a terrible IMDb rating. It's like 6.8 or something.
They need to be told why this movie's bad.
Yeah.
This is really bad.
Yeah, 6.8 out of 10.
Yeah.
110,000 ratings. That's a much better user rating than the film we will be talking about.
I don't listen to those
with Alex's
user ratings. Bunch of nonsense. Usually those scores are like super inflated. Like the Eternals or like any Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Joker's like at an 8.
It's an identity.
It's like an 8 something on IMDb. It's like one of the highest rated movies like of all time. It's like ridiculous. Like it does not deserve to be that high. And it's like most superhero movies basically, except for like The Dark Knight or that's maybe the original Superman.
Okay, what do we rate it? 3 out of 10.
Yeah, ratings.
It's terrible. I might give it a 2 out of 10.
Oh.
I'll say 3. It's either 3 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same place. So you give it like a 1.5 star on Letterboxd. So yeah, about 3 out of 10.
Yeah, it's like a 1.5.
So boring.
Yeah.
Just inexcusably boring.
Yeah. Way too fucking long. It's just too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no excuse.
There's no good reason.
No.
All right. Alex has recommended a movie.
That's it.
Yeah, so I recommended, I think this is the first time for Sardonicast, a repeat recommendation somewhat. Although, was the first conversation we had around it a recommended, or was it I just happened to have checked it out and we just kind of talked about it on the episode? I can't particularly remember. The point is, it was years ago at this point.
Oh yeah, so it's in Isle of Dogs and Boy. So it was you recommended Boy. And we talked about Antichrist.
That's right. Yeah, I had a feel. Okay, so it wasn't fully recommended, but we have had a section where we did talk about it. I remember that. But that must explain why I don't really remember Ralph's thoughts on this movie as much, if it was just more of a throwaway kind of conversation. Sure. But yeah, this is 2009 Antichrist by Lars von Trier, a pretty controversial movie. The more I read about it, the more I find out about it. This is my my second watch of this movie, which is about a grieving couple who they have a loss of a child in a pretty dramatic opening scene. Yeah, full spoilers for this movie. Yeah, there's a whole opening slow-mo sequence establishing the loss of their child through what you think's an accident at first, and it's all about the kind of depressive mindset that one goes into as a result of such a horrendous occurrence. And it's in this setting of a woods, which is a result of this kind of mysterious relationship between Willem Dafoe and Charlotte Gainsbourg. They're never really given a name. They're kind of left vague as to serve this heavy religious symbolism. And she and he. And it's a backbone of a lot of symbolism, and it's supposed to be a horror movie. It's kind of Lars von Trier's take on a horror movie. The enjoyment I get from it is not necessarily from it succeeding as a horror movie, but more of Lars von Trier delving into the mental health side of it and his expression of what depression did to him, because that's a clear theme of the movie to me, in terms of just the misery that his own depression and anxiety, the place it brings you to, and this whole idea of taking somewhere traditionally picturesque like a woodland, like natural landscape, and spinning it on its head and turning it into a sort of a harsh, realistic truth of the world. Of the chaos reigns. The when you put a magnifying glass on nature, on the woodland, on the way life can be, it can be extremely cruel, and it all fits in with the depressive tone and the anxiety-inducing visuals, and just this relationship that's falling apart. And it goes into all sorts of different themes relating to the way men and women relate to each other, and the kind of misogyny angle to this movie, and that's not even scratching the surface of like the controversy angle, and how this film was kind of booed and cheered simultaneously at Cannes, and the weird quotes of Von Trier when he's talking about himself around the time of when this movie came out, saying, "I am the best film director," and God, there's so many fascinating quotes with him.
I'm the greatest film director in the world.
So I'm left like wondering how much of it is him trying to prove himself in this kind of over. I'm still a bit like overwhelmed by this movie, but I definitely enjoyed it way more the second time. I got a lot more out of the imagery, and just appreciating how it's put together a bit more. Just the variety of technique involved, and some really, really memorable imagery, especially involving like the roots and combining it with the arms and everything. There's a lot of really expressive imagery that hammers home, I think, the clear intention of what it's going for. Even if what it winds up kind of saying at the very end, I'm a little bit kind of confused on. It's throwing a lot of stuff out there, and I'm getting a lot of value from that, but I'm still a bit confused as to what it all means necessarily at the end.
What do you think, Ralph?
Well, that's all true, Alex. That's like a really good like analysis of it. Yeah, it's like capturing the feelings of depression. It's disturbing. It's not an enjoyable watch. I don't think that's why we didn't enjoy it upon first viewing, I think. Yeah. This time, I don't know. I still didn't enjoy it. I think I like it a little bit more. Yeah. I like it a little more knowing Lars von Trier now. Like being familiar with his body of work now. And I guess it's not as unpleasant like watching it again. It's not as shocking. It's like, oh, okay. He's just jerking off the dick and blood comes out. Yeah. I'm like, I'm desensitized to it, right? Like, just means
genital
nothing to me.
Whatever.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, like how you describe it.
Yeah, because I was reading like it was one of those kind of controversial movies where when it was screened, people were like fainting and stuff. And
good.
You never know what to take away from.
It's a really
like when
out
you read
there
that
movie. It's a very art house. It's very artful. It's experimental
as fuck.
Don't take everything literally, right? It's experimental. that's more how you should look at it. Like through that lens, it's actually really cool. It's something to be almost inspired by. Antichrist. Well, what about the title? Like, what's the significance of the title?
Well, I mean, it's I don't know. She conflates or associates like satanic imagery with nature and womanhood, and I don't know. Like Antichrist, you might as well just be using the title like Satan or just evil, or I don't know. Like it. I don't know how specific it is to just the name Antichrist that it's like that's so necessary for the title, but I don't know. It's in line with what's taking place in the film, I guess.
I mean, it works as a title. I'm just it's not overt. It's not like Satan's in the movie, or at least not literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of comes out through the whole, going back to the mental health aspect. Willem Dafoe, he's like a therapist, and he's kind of picking her brain, trying to figure out what scares her most, and he's got that kind of fear triangle, and Satan's at the top of that. He eventually figures out, and I think Willem Dafoe kind of carries the movie a big chunk for me. It's a lot of his performance that sells me on the journey, because he's kind of he's taken down the path with the other character, and he's kind of leading where things are going. He's quite active in terms of his role in the story and where it goes with him. Because Charlotte Gainsbourg and where it goes with her is, I'm still trying to kind of deconstruct in terms of it's explained she's writing a thesis about this, the misogyny of humanity, and it eventually kind of, she internalizes it.
Genocide.
Yeah, that's the word. I couldn't remember what the exact phrase was, but yeah, Willem discovers that she's been like intentionally putting like the son's shoes on the wrong way to make him deform, because there's the whole letter from the doctor angle that's hidden until later on in the movie where that's revealed, and that's right at the moment where things probably go off the rails and the physical violence begins, and it really leans heavily on the kind of religious imagery of Charlotte Gainsbourg like drills a hole in Willem Dafoe's leg, and it's all very Christ-like with the weight being attached to him, and it's all very, very
Eden.
symbolic, and it's. I remember that's part of what bothered me on the first watch, where I was taking it too literally, like trying to be like, oh, this just wouldn't happen under these, but it's way less. It's way more abstract than that. It's way more about exploring kind of a mindset and the way, the abstract way emotions can affect you, and the visuals of that. Something that only filmmaking can really do. For these kind of intense emotions and these kind of negative thought patterns that are brought out through this kind of mental anguish, I think it does a good job of capturing something as abstract as that. But yeah, it's just the ultimate full stop conclusion. I'm struggling to form a coherent sort of thought process around.
I think that there's a couple different ways to interpret it. So she's writing her thesis, and eventually, and this is said, I guess, just in, I think, like one line, Willem Dafoe says it like kind of explicitly. He's like, oh, so you were writing your thesis about the mistreatment of women, but then you actually started believing it? Like, it's like she was, her mind was changed by the text she was reading in a way that, like, it kind of absorbed what she was thinking. There's a better way to phrase this. It kind of like indoctrinated her in a way.
Yeah, sort of convinced her. Yeah.
You could interpret this in a way where, oh, she is just kind of crazy and allowed this to seep into her brain, and it manifested in this awful way where she hated herself and hated nature and her sexuality and blah, 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 blah. You could interpret it in that way. Another way that I kind of think is also acceptable that I didn't think of until this previous time I watched it is that, like, perhaps there is a bit more of like a tropey supernatural thing going on where there is some sort of like spirit or presence that is taking over her, and it's just manifesting itself in that way. And perhaps, by the end of the movie, Willem Dafoe winds up killing her. And it seems like he gets possessed in some sort of way. We see the reincorporation of those shots where they were describing the different stages of anxiety or the different symptoms of anxiety. And we see those start to happen, but now it's Willem Dafoe's body, and, you know, something takes over him and he feels some sort of like murderous rage, right? And although, yes, you can take that as like, yeah, maybe there's like a spirit or entity, I still think it also continues to fall under the lines of like, okay, well, what is this saying about people, about nature, right? Like, is it inherently nature for death and destruction and anger and jealousy and resentment? All of these things are natural. They occur in nature, right? And how much imagery do we see of just... They mention the acorns falling, and it's like, this is just more death. And you see the bird falling, and again, that's imagery of the child falling out the window. It's a lot of falling and death, quite explicitly. And then, you know, the fox like chewing out its own insides, and the deformed deer, and the blah blah blah. It's like, this is all nature. It's disgusting. It's awful. You know, and it's a necessary thing to have to come to terms with, I guess, as like a human being on this planet, is that, you know, nature is destructive. Nature can be brutal. Nature can be fucking terrifying, but it's all just a part of existence and living on this planet. So I think it's kind of still going in that area of just, I guess, acceptance over the harsh realities that come with existence.
Yeah, I guess that's part of what thought I took away from it, was this kind of idea of what would it take to take you to that place to kind of make you the Antichrist, with the example of this being like the loss of a child, something so overwhelmingly devastating, like, and then just seeing what it can do to a person, how close it can make you to that. Yeah, there's like the brutal imagery of like a predatory bird eating a young that's just fallen out of its nest, and again, going back to that kind of depressive mindset and how it can make you really focus on the kind of misery in the world. And I think it just really works as like a thought piece, exploring those kind of ideas and that kind of misery. It's very effective in that way, even if it doesn't. Again, I don't think it works in a horror sense to me. I don't feel. It doesn't really fit genre-wise in my head. Like, where does this fit in terms of kind of other more traditional horror movies? It's much more psychological, I suppose, much more abstract.
Maybe like Eraserhead.
Yeah, you can't really view it as a more
that
obvious
genre.
Yeah.
I like Eraserhead more, for the record.
I love how experimental the film is, because they were really, in terms of like filmmaking techniques, they were doing a lot of shit that they were just like, we don't really even know if this will work or not. They actually did a test film to see certain techniques in action before actually committing to like the larger project. They wound up using a just like a rig that was basically like a dolly and a camera that were controlled by a computer program, so they could input manually these movements into the rig that could simulate handheld movement, and then in the same shot pull back or go forward in a perfect a perfect linear shot, zooming in and out. So transitioning from handheld to linear, like in a way where it's like the handheld was actually faked. It was simulated. I think that's really interesting and really cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's a few shots in the movie that are like that, like the tree shot where it like goes into the back of his head and then pulls back out.
Yeah, I was going to say,
like,
is that one of them?
Still, that's one of them. The shot near the beginning with the hospital before it goes into the plant. I think that's one of them. I don't remember, but yeah, there's a few where it really does a lot of unique and unsettling and very new feeling camera movements that I think really help the tone and visual style of this film so much.
Yeah, and just combining it with the visual symbolism of the roots, especially, I love, because there's so much overlap with like what it can mean, whether it be the roots, like literally being like your family, with the whole kid being involved, and it being the roots there, or the roots in your brain with the way, you know, the mental health side of it. And it's just super expressive. And then combining the the sexual nature of this movie as well. It's inherently extremely sexual. That was one of the faint-worthy moments this movie's been touted for, is the like real sex at the beginning. But the kind of shock value taken aside, it is establishing that side of the movie, because it's a huge part of it, because the Charlotte Gainsbourg's character kind of compulsively wants to have sex all the time, and it's again touching on this kind of complicated relationship she has and has interpreted from this kind of fucked up readings and research she's been doing, and the way she's misinterpreting it, and the horror that comes of that. And it's just one of the kind of key subjects that often gets under people's skin, is just using sexuality in the way they do, and how extreme it goes towards the end with the cutting the clit off, and the violence it goes, and the just combining sexual imagery with the violence and horror just always works quite well.
A lot of people are sexually repressed in ways that they don't even realize, So I think it does make sense to have a movie that sort of explores sexuality in kind of like a horror, but more like a psychological way, where it's clearly there's some damage done to her, in how she views sexuality or nature or her own body, her own instincts, So it can lead to, on a way that's not as extreme as this film. There's a lot of instances where it can lead to a lot of self-hate. It can lead to, suicide. It can lead to projection. It can there are people that like murder other people for like finding out some like weird sexual thing about them, or people have killed themselves over like nudes being leaked. It's like, oh, you're naked, sort of thing, Like there's a lot of really painful, damaging views and embedded emotions about sexuality and general society that, I think it just
especially when it's tied in with religious beliefs as well. Yeah, which exactly. Is heavily part of this film. Yeah. So.
Like it's already fucked up.
It's just part of the human condition. Yeah, exactly. You can't not have the sexual side of it. It's all about reproduction as well, with the kid being the whole point where the story starts off from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love that at the beginning in the opening sequence, you can see little clues about things to come. You can see the three beggars in the in like a little, there's like children's like piece of wood, and then they connect this shape fits in this shape. You can see the three animals in the in the same shot that Willem Dafoe's butt is in, or whoever's butt that was. It might have been a double. You can see as the baby is coming out of the crib, you can see the shoes are placed reversed, which is also very like really foreboding. And I love that aspect of the movie, because it's a subtle little thing you wouldn't notice, not only in that shot,
it's an unexpected reveal.
All the other photos that Willem Dafoe was looking at, it's like you don't notice that right away, but once you do, it's really unsettling. It's like, wow, this is just it's not so obvious, but it is really fucked up. Like there are good horror elements to this, I think, regardless of whether or not it works as a horror movie for you. Like it depends how much we want to, I guess, confine it to that genre, or the tropiness of that genre.
Because it works much better in a psychological. Really it makes you think. It's a much more kind of thinky movie than. I guess my expectations that first time were just wired a bit wrong, based on kind of having a horror label necessarily. But you're right. There's definitely a lot of disturbing concepts, but I find the scary part is where my mind takes me as a result of the imagery and what they're saying, as opposed to maybe directly what I'm seeing. Aside from some of the more stunning kind of impressive shots, like the root arm tree shot, or the chaos fox even I thought was effective, way more effective this time. Now I kind of know what it's going for a bit more. It wasn't as
it's silly,
didn't throw me off as much
for sure.
It's definitely silly, but
it's not even the only silly aspect of this film.
Just the visual effects and using like real animals, I think, helped as well. For a lot of it kind of grounded it a bit, and just a fair amount of restraint, and just little touches like the kind of warping effects on the woods, just to kind of throw you off and kind of add to that dreamlike nature. And on the whole dreamlike nature, actually, I really like that sequence where Willem's kind of getting Charlotte Gainsbourg's character to picture images in her head, and just the kind of restrained way, using that slow-mo with that kind of ultra-wide picturesque landscape. That's really a really cool sequence, and really kind of, I don't know if realistic's the right word, but I find it relatable in terms of conjuring imagery in your head. It's kind of dreamlike and just feels right for the way you would display that kind of idea.
Yeah,
very really creative and cool.
Very effectively communicated and super purposeful and interesting and experimental visuals. Like, love the, what was it, like 1,000 frames per second shooting or whatever. Like, it's so insane, and I love the lighting in that as well. Like, I wouldn't begin to understand how to like replicate a shot like that. It's just so, there's so much within it that's just so juicy, visually. It's just such a, there are quite so much to absorb out of it. I love those shots, which is great because like at the same time you have these weird handheld, kind of dark, close looking shots, like their conversations near the beginning of the film. A lot of the editing will cut in ways that traditionally, like, you're not supposed to. It'll be like on the same actor, same angle. Yeah, we're just going to cut here. And it's like, oh, well, that's weird, right? But it's him kind of like marrying these two different styles of filmmaking in a similar way that he kind of did with Dancer in the Dark, except in that film, it was much less extreme in the differences. I think that this film works a lot better in that sense, in terms of like showing a dynamic or, showing the contrast between those two filming styles in the same movie. Yeah. He's definitely progressed a lot in that sense.
I read one review that described it as being self-consciously provocative, which I find interesting and wonder where you guys come down on, because I don't really get the vibe that it's being disingenuous necessarily when it's bringing up the kind of the violence and the kind of things you'd expect people to get, outraged or inflamed about with this movies. How much of that do you think is like intentional or not, or going too far or not too far? Because I just feel like it's working well in terms of, if it is the first part of this Depression trilogy and it's all trying to go for these kind of moods and ideas, I think it does a really good job with that kind of stuff. I never feel pulled out from the extremities all the time or anything.
Yeah, it definitely works the best out of, well, for me anyway, out of his Depression trilogy. And in terms of like how much is he being conscious of the audience, I think to some degree Lars von Trier especially is always somewhat conscious of I think he is kind of a provocateur. He is kind of a troll. He loves to get reactions out of people. And I think what makes or breaks a film for me is whether or not that takes precedence over what he's doing, right? There are scenes, or sometimes even entire films he's made, where like the entire point is just to be a troll, just to get a reaction. But I do feel like there was something genuine here, even if perhaps he was, maybe he was snickering to himself, being like, ha ha ha, we're going to have the blood come out of the pee-pee. Like, I don't know. Like, I think that it both like exist at the same time, And as long as it's not detracting from the film in a negative way, then, fucking do it. I like seeing weird, shocking, interesting things. I like getting a new experience out of something,
Yeah, whereas with something, what was that film, House That Jack Built?
Yeah.
From a few years ago? That felt a bit less genuine at certain points.
Yeah, that was more of a troll.
Just pushing it. Yeah, it's just trolling way more.
I like that movie, though. That's more of a comedy.
Yeah, I enjoy that.
That one's actually trying to be funny. I don't think there's much funny about this one.
I'll give that one a second chance at some point. I think I'll enjoy it more on my second watch.
To be funny. This one's not trying to be funny. This one's like just disturbing. Depends on what you like. I mean, really, it just depends on what you're in the mood for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to watch this shit. It's just disturbing. Fucking blood coming out of the penis, like all this bizarre shit. Yeah, it's not. Doesn't follow like a structure. It's not conventional at all. Yeah, it's just capturing that tone.
Yeah,
it's just about the tone.
It's like a professionally made budget, good budget movie that's also trying to be like Dogma 95 kind of,
That's an art house film. Yeah. It's a really art house.
Yeah. Being a few things at once here.
Yeah, there's good choices. Like you said, it looks really good sometimes.
I mean, like, yeah, even
lots
if
of, like, good choices.
Even if we're judging it like purely by its presentation and tone, it still manages to be so unique, right? Like, there's not a lot of
well, the
scenes
opening
out
is really
there.
great.
Very
the
unique.
opening's fucking
the
amazing.
prologue is excellent. Yeah, and that's like that really just kind of engages you in those two characters right away. Like, you actually want to see what happens.
It's incredible,
them, which is what maybe ultimately watch the rest of the movie. Like, even if you don't like it, you want to see what happens to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does get you.
You are engaged in that way. Yeah, and it's well shot. Yeah, the slow motion's good. And, but it's black and white, and the piano music. Like, that's what I mean by art house. Like, someone could look at that and see it as pretentious, but it isn't. Like, the way it's in the scene, it's actually used really well.
Yeah,
it's a really well done.
I love that scene so much. Even if we're to go at, like, different scenes within the film, like I'd say that's probably my favorite scene. Yeah, me too. Probably, honestly. Even other scenes in the film, like the meditation scene that you mentioned, Alex, or like her flashback when she's talking about how she heard Nick crying in the woods and he wasn't. Like, I love that sequence. It's just so fucking creepy to hear that echoing baby crying.
That's one of the, as far as horror goes. That's one of the scariest scenes to me.
Yeah, and it's just purely
it's very unnerving,
tone.
Unnatural.
It's like there's no jump scare there. There's no resolution to it really, but just like the way it's shot, and like she looks up and then you see the whole forest again. Like, I love I love how weird everything is, and how just I never see any movies even since that have come close to feeling like this film. It's such a unique experience.
Yeah, it's definitely unique. That's one thing I'll give Von Trier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's there's, to be honest, there's a few moments of this film where I don't feel sold on what is being presented. Even like the first time I watched it, there's parts where she's like running around chasing him, like, where are you, sort of thing, and it's like, I'm not like completely sold on what's happening in a narrative sense. Not that it needs to be like literal or anything, but just I kind of feel like, this is kind of silly. Like, I get that throughout the movie in some moments, but overall, I just like, in terms of what it's showing, how it's showing it, and just being unique and just ballsy, just being like, yeah, this is the movie I wanted to make. I'm not going to compromise. I'm going to show a dude come blood, and Charlotte Gainsbourg is going to cut her clit off, and it's going to be an art house movie. We're going to have some classical music and show classical music in black and white, showing like full-on penetration. Like, who does that? Nobody. It's fucking.
It's literally ballsy.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
There's a vision. There's a vision there. He made his movie.
There's balls in the movie.
It's fucking awesome. It's Criterion. It's his last movie before he admitted he's a Nazi. But he didn't.
Speaking of awkward clips.
That's Melancholia, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was Melancholia, interview at Cannes. Yeah. If anybody's curious about that controversy, he made a stupid joke, but he's Lars von Trier and doesn't understand how to be a normal human being.
Yeah, it didn't come across the right way.
Yeah, he just kept digging his hole, too. One of the most awkward moments you could ever possibly watch ever. Kirsten Dunst looks like she wants to escape out of her body.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she really tries.
Yeah. I love an entire table of people sitting next to him, just clearly giving him looks, just saying like, stop what you're doing. Like, what are you doing, Lars? And he just keeps going, like, despite all of that. Like, people are like,
he just wants to tell
Skarsgård's leaning in, like,
shut the fuck up.
Charlotte Gainsbourg's like brushing her teeth with her finger, basically. Like, she's doing this weird cringe thing.
It's so awkward.
That's like one of the finest moments of cinema, and I'm glad Lars von Trier is such an auteur that he brought it to us.
Thanks, Lars. He made his life a movie. Yeah.
What a guy. What a crazy, funny, eccentric character. Very hit or miss.
Yeah, the type of person you want to see movies from. Because they're always interesting in one way or another.
Give more crazy people cameras. It's my motto.
And dedicated to Tarkovsky.
Yeah.
At the end there.
Interesting.
Nice little note. Yeah, interesting.
Because he didn't like recently die before that movie. So there must be something about this film in particular that he felt really connected to his legacy in that sense.
Yeah.
Sure. It's kind of Tarkovsky-esque.
Yeah, I can see bits of it, but
yeah, hints here and there.
All right. What do you give it out of 10 unless you want to talk about it more?
That's most of what I have to say about it, unless you have more to throw out there, Ralph.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about it, even on this viewing. Not the biggest fan.
Yeah, I enjoyed this a lot more. Like, I connected, especially with those visuals and the way it was made, and I was appreciating that side of it so much more. And yeah, I was kind of downplaying the horror aspect of it, but there is some really creepy stuff going on psychologically with this movie, and that's the side it succeeds on. It's not like a more traditional, like, we're talking about like characters and their relationship. It's not because it's like realistic necessarily, because it like devolves into like not very literal storytelling. The structure's kind of wacky, and it's like a 4-act structure, and it's all held together with this kind of craziness and trying to overwhelm and confuse you and communicate abstract ideas. But yeah, it's getting better each time I see it, so I'm going to throw a 3.5 star on this. I'm still not fully convinced. I find sections of it kind of slow and plodding, but I almost wonder if some of that's intentional sometimes with him, especially if he is such a like troll. So yeah, I enjoyed my second watch of this.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I don't think I'd change my rating. Maybe up to like a 6, maybe. I think the opening is the strongest part. I think that's part of my criticism. It kind of peaks there.
Yeah, it's hard not to get emotionally engaged in that opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like all this disturbing imagery, you can find it like comical. I think that's what I found it the first time. I could see.
Yeah, I had that problem the first time.
Yeah. A lot of gross imagery. But if you like that thing, it'll be good. Interesting film, for sure. Either a 5 or a 6 out of 10.
I'm somewhere between an 8 or a 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, either of those numbers will suffice. Nothing wrong with either of those numbers. Love the choices, love the uniqueness. There's some weird stuff that it's just in the movie and is creepy. Like everybody's face is blurred and the main characters don't have names.
Yeah. That was a cool choice. I think you mentioned that in one of your reviews. Yeah, that was cool. All of his movies are unique, you know. I think it's just like whichever ones you like the most. Like I like Dancer in the Dark more. I think I might like House that Jack Built more.
Yeah, I probably like Dancer in the Dark more.
Yeah, I prefer Dancer in the Dark.
Yeah. Or what else has he done? Did he do Dogville? Was that him?
Yes.
I still need to see that. Okay, I still need to see that.
That's a weird one.
And something else recently. There's Nymphomaniac. That's not that great.
Melancholia, The Idiots.
Melancholia.
That's a film.
The Idiots.
Oh, don't look up anything about that one if you haven't seen it. Yeah, watch that one and tell me what you think of Lars.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sorry, I don't love it.
Oh, whatever.
It's very art house, yeah. So it might be your thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't really blame anyone for not being able to connect with it.
Question time.
Okay, let's do some questions from the Sardonicast community. If you want to leave your own questions for us to answer, head over to the suggestion thread on the subreddit. Just like BBD4116 did. What is the most physical reaction you've ever had to a movie? Seems like an appropriate question with the recommendation being Antichrist.
That's good. Yeah, a lot of the movies you guys recommend, Antichrist, Martyrs. Fucking disgusting.
Quite a physical reaction to Martyrs that you throw that out there. Even though there isn't a lot of blood with some of the imagery, it's just something about the like scraping knives across arms and like it just not flinching away from it.
Disturbing imagery in there, like people getting beaten and killed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Dear Zachary, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Damn, you describe it as a physical reaction too, like a real mover.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I can't remember if I said if I checked it out, but I did, and you weren't wrong on that one. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I think that's a compliment to the movie. That I'm grossed out by these movies and I rate them kind of lowly. I think that's a compliment to them. I think they succeeded at what they were trying to do.
Yeah, you know? He wants you to be saying "fuck you, Lars" at the end.
Kind of in a way.
He does. He loves it.
Yeah.
Okay. The awesome Redditor has one for us. Is there a movie watching experience that is so bad and annoying you couldn't actually pay attention to the film? what movie was it and what happened? For example, someone talking through the movie buffering, movie theater projector not working, or something just super random.
There's a lady kicking my seat the entire fucking movie, and I was so pissed off.
Do you remember the movie?
It was Kente Kantara by the director of Magical Girl, whose name I forget. And I'll watch it again someday so I can actually watch the movie. But it was like she was like waging war with me because I had my seat leaned back a bit, which they don't let you lean it back any further than like there's a piece of part of the floor is like stopping you from leaning it back so far that it would actually like touch anybody. But she wanted her feet up on my seat basically. Like she was leaning back with her feet on the back of my seat rest. And it was really upsetting and frustrating. And so I was like trying to push back and she was like just pushing me. I was like, what the fuck? And then eventually I was like, I don't remember what I did. I just like, I got up and I was like, what are you doing? And like, I just went to a different seat and people in the audience were mad at me for like getting up and saying something. It's like, I wasn't even very loud. I was just like, what? I was just acknowledging this person. They were like, shh, as if I was being disturbing the entire time. What I should have done was go to the fucking employees of the theater and be like, hey, can you kick her out or something? Like, that's what I should have done, is acknowledge that there was somebody being like an absolute fucking monster in the theater.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah.
What a lame situation.
Yeah, like why do you need your feet to be on the back of my seat? Why does it matter to you?
Like, for an entire movie, yeah, that's...
Yeah, I was
so stupid.
So angry.
Yeah, that sucks.
What jumps into my mind is seeing that actually the Peter Jackson King Kong in the theater, I must have been pretty young at the time when it came out, but someone brought along their like really young baby, right? And
oh god,
just was crying for the whole goddamn movie. And I couldn't focus on it because I was just like, "What? Why'd you bring a baby to King Kong? It's a long ass movie. So why? Like,
you just triggered another memory for me."
The baby related one. That's a good one. Because it's like the most distracting, disturbing noise. We're like programmed to find it disturbing. So of course it's like the most distracting thing you could possibly hear while there's a giant ape fighting a T-Rex on screen. Like,
yeah.
It's too distracting.
She took it to fucking, like, I think it was Xavier Dolan's mommy. like
really?
Yeah, it was like I had seen it once and I was taking my friends to see it. Like it was one of like I had seen it before, but I'm like, fuck, this is still ruining like I'm glad I saw it before, but like why there's a baby crying the entire movie. It was like 40 minutes through the movie. I just said out loud, "Can you please take the baby outside?" And then there were fucking white knights in the theater that were like, "She deserves to be here. You go, girl." And like I was like, "Holy fuck." I was just so mad. So I just like dealt with it the rest of the movie.
It's just like not an environment for a baby.
Why don't hire a babysitter? If you can't afford one, you shouldn't be going to a fucking movie.
Yeah, the baby doesn't want to be
$12 at least.
Yeah, well, it's like, in 3 months it's going to be out on digital anyway. Like, just wait. Like, come on.
I have too many Larry David moments. I'm not doing anything wrong. Why is everybody mad at me?
I remember the projector just like shut off, like the film burns out, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You ever have that?
Yeah, that's annoying.
That's happened like once to me.
Yeah, I've had them like point the projector like the wrong wall and stuff, so it just starts playing.
That's funny.
Yeah, they just fucked up. Yeah. The sound was playing and there's just no visuals. So everyone was just waiting for like 20 minutes. Like, oh, that's not intentional. Someone get someone.
It seems like when I go out in public and watch a movie, everybody's on a challenge to see who can piss me off. Just let me watch things at home. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, same.
I'll never leave the house again.
Yeah.
Okay, we have this one here from Etisham Sakib. Question for Adam. Once upon a time, you joined the movie fights organized by Screen Junkies. How was that experience? Also, how did you feel when Pee-wee's Big Adventure won over Brazil as the best film of 1985? I remembered this. I was when I was in Canada, I was supposed to ask you about this because I randomly remembered this video the other day, the whole Movie Fights podcast thing. So, yeah, you're on an episode, aren't you? With the cool cat shirt on and everything.
It was an interesting experience because that was my first real dive into like the corporatism of some YouTube channels. It was like, I'm a person creating my own thing, but you're a business. You're a business full of people. Yeah.
Like a big business. Yeah.
Owned by, they're a subsidiary of another business. And so it's like, yeah, I go into their office or whatever. There's like a fuck ton of people like on computers doing like a bunch of different random shit. And there's, they have like a room for the studio or whatever set up with it. What was weird about it is like the format is just kind of really phony, like because you're not really fighting over movies. Like if you have to submit your answers before the episode, so through email they'll ask you these questions, and then you commit to certain answers. So the question for one of them was like favorite female director or whatever, and so if somebody else already picks your pick, you have to go with your second best and then fight that person for your second best and pretend that it's right. So silly, right? So if somebody else had said Brazil already for like favorite movie of 1985, then I would have had to have picked a movie other than Brazil and argue why it's better than Brazil, even if I don't believe it, which is just kind of that's
it's awkward
stupid.
Format.
So yeah, a lot of fake phoniness going on. I wrote in that one of the questions was like an ultimate fan fiction of Back to the Future or something, and I said in the email, I'm like, oh yeah, we'll have like a Rick and Morty crossover where they have to prevent 9/11, and they said you can't say that. I'm like, okay, fine. So I took out the 9/11 part, so I didn't get to say what I really wanted. Jokes. I was just being kind of funny. They allowed me to do my Kavenjan A. Wallace as Bruce Willis thing though. And I won with that one. That was like the most epic win in movie fights history, is winning by saying Kavenjan A. Wallace should play young John McClane in a Die Hard prequel. And I said, yeah, this is like before the surgery. And I actually won with that. You should, if you're going to watch anything, you got to watch that part if you're listening. But yeah, I was there. I did that. I lost because I forgot who Christopher Guest was, even though I had seen Spinal Tap and Best in Show. He wasn't as common of a name in my mind. So otherwise, I did pretty good, and we recorded another episode of some other thing that they wanted me on, and it was like I was geeking out about Pokemon or something. And this was a not movie fights thing. I don't even remember what the show was called, but they had me on this, and I was kind of pissed off because after the fact, like they didn't tell me this before I was on the show. I find out later that this was a part of their like exclusive membership thing where you have to pay them monthly to even watch it. I was like, I was on this because I thought maybe my fans would be able to see me talk about Pokemon on this thing, you know, like that's why I was on it. And they couldn't even like, they just seemed really like, whatever, like, like they didn't do anything wrong. So yeah, it's a lot of human emotion, and proper treating people like human beings is lost when you're a big company. You know, it just devolves into really impersonal interactions and transactionary business sort of things. And that's why I don't do that, and why I choose to be a decent person. But it was interesting at least experiencing that. So
yeah, it's definitely interesting.
It's a business.
It's a business.
Business.
Welcome to show business.
AV Center Staff Member 2 has one for us. In the age of excessive CGI and green screen, a lot of it being pretty dog shit, I tend to enjoy looking at old movies that not only use real locations, but use said locations to enhance the story or experience in some way, shape or form. Though this isn't exclusively for old movies, as there are plenty of movies that film on location made today. So my question is, what are some films that really use their locations to the greatest extent they can, which enhance the story, characters, scope, etc.? My pick would be Lawrence of Arabia, but I'd be interested to see what you guys would pick.
Barry Lyndon, I think of right away. Lawrence of Arabia is a good one.
I know that there's some in my head that I've talked about recently, and I'm going to have to go through my ratings
from the podcast. Here. Yeah, Barry Lyndon, definitely. The locations in that enhance the movie.
I mean, Possession was a great one recently.
Mm-hmm. I like when like fantasy or science fiction uses good locations to kind of ground the kind of more wacky visuals, like a Lord of the Rings, I think is a good one.
Yeah.
As much as they do use a lot of pre-made sets and everything, there was a fair amount shot in the actual wilderness of New Zealand, and it really helps ground that story and give it kind of a realistic look that keeps you in it.
Any Sean Baker film is a really good example. Like he's always making some sort of like commentary on like the culture, the location, you know.
Stalker was a really good one.
Yeah, I was going to say that one
as well. Yeah, that's kind of a core to
great
the whole
example.
fun of that movie. Yeah,
it's the setting is the character sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a few.
Yeah, we had some good ones in there.
It's funny. Stalker's a good
this one then from Green Hood 300. Since the Nikado avocado thing,
hold up, shut the fuck up. Nobody says Nikocado, and that's what it sounds like. It's what you're supposed to say. How come everybody says Nikado? How come everybody says that? Nobody can say Nikocado.
Did I not say Nikocado?
I swear.
Wait, how did I say it?
Maybe
Nikado.
Maybe I'm just freaking out for no reason. I could be wrong.
It's a thing that happens to me quite a lot where I read like people's online names and I see it written so many times and then I realize, I don't think I've ever actually said this out loud before. So then I might just say it completely wrong.
I might have flipped out at you for no reason.
Let me try again then. Since the Nikocado avocado thing, what are your guys' stance on the whole body shaming / fat shaming? Do you guys think it's okay to let people actually eat themselves to death versus taking good care of your body? Michael Imperioli predicted James Gandolfini's death by warning him he'll have a heart attack by the time he's 50. Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Fucking America, right? Freedom. Done.
Yeah. I mean, what do you want me to say?
Well, no, I mean, like, you're the ones that, like, shout really loudly about it and have the fattest people. So,
yeah,
I mean,
well, yeah, if you want to be fat, go ahead.
Yeah. Have you ever been to the Heart Attack Grill? It's fucking insane.
No.
In Vegas? Oh, yeah.
That's
all
funny.
their burgers are, like, coated in lard. They call their burgers the single bypass, the double bypass, the triple bypass, quadruple bypass, etc. Their pricing model, it's like a really expensive burger, but then it's like, oh, you add 10 strips of bacon for like 5 cents, and you're like, I gotta do that. If you're over 350 pounds, you eat free. All of the serving staff are dressed up in like sexy nurse outfits. They sell shots in prescription pill bottles, basically. They sell cigarettes.
So dark.
And yeah, it's basically the owner of the restaurant is like, yeah, we'll kill you. And he keeps going through spokespeople because they keep dying. Yeah, he's like, yeah, people have had heart attacks in our restaurant. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
But that's freedom, right?
Yeah, that's freedom. That's like the extreme.
So, Alex, in your country, they like regulate the amount of sugar in drinks, right? Is that a thing?
There are quite a few. Yeah, it was semi-recently the drink sugar levy tax or whatever was included. So if you get the sugar version of a soda, like the full sugar version, you have to pay a little bit more.
Oh.
It's supposed to it's supposed to put you off buying the sugar version.
Yeah, they do that with cigarettes in Canada for sure. Cigarettes are so much more expensive in Canada than the US because of just tax. You know, we'll tax you.
Oh, really?
They incentivize you not to do it.
Mm-hmm. They do that in the UK as well. They make them very expensive.
Vegas place makes me want to go there.
If people just want to hear me talk about Nikocado avocado, like whatever, let the guy do what he wants. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows literally. He's not under a different impression of what he's doing. He's very clearly got a feeder fetish and potentially a humiliation fetish. He's doing it, and you're giving him attention, and you're helping him facilitate that by directing more people towards his content. So if you don't like it, then you should ignore it, right? Like, what else are you going to do? Like, what's the problem?
Yeah, what are they suggesting in the comment to do otherwise? What, clamp down and like...
We gotta...
Like, what do you mean? Like...
Make a citizen's arrest.
Clamp down on avocado. Citizen's arrest on avocado for eating too much. Like,
gives a shit.
He knows exactly.
He clearly knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand the controversy.
With fat shaming? I fat shame Steven Seagal. That's about it. I don't
fat shame myself to lose weight.
Yeah, I fat shame myself.
That's what's okay to do.
Yeah. Fucking hype for the new Aronofsky movie, right? That's going to be the plot. He's gonna,
I saw a frame from that the other day.
Oh, there's a frame out now?
I think so, unless it was like some fan Photoshop or something.
He's got Brendan Fraser playing Nikocado avocado.
Yeah, in the future.
Oh man. Okay, let's do this one from Dat Jew Boy. We know Ralph has Scorch's PFG TV and Redacted as his guilty pleasure trash TV.
Mystery
Adam and Alex, do you have any guilty pleasure shows that you'll watch from time to time? Ralph, are there any others that you would recommend?
You didn't mention Mystery Diners.
Yeah, Mystery Diners as well is an obvious one.
Price is Right, Judge Judy, Shark Tank, or Dragon's Den is better actually, or it used to be when they still had Kevin
Dragon's
O'Leary.
Den is.
You think Dragon's Den is better?
Yeah, when they had Kevin O'Leary, yes, 100%.
Oh, okay.
Why?
I think Shark Tank's good.
For what reason? Because
Yeah,
I'm about to provide reasons.
Kevin O'Leary. Well, I don't know. What, you think the editing of American television is over dramatic?
Yes, and I'll tell you what bullshit they do is
it's made for
on
people
Dragon's Den. So the first however many seasons with Kevin
Dragon's
O'Leary,
Den is like really boring.
It was no, it's not. Oh, you don't understand. They it's so manipulative how they edit things, especially if you're watching on cable and there's actual commercials. So on Dragon's Den, when Kevin O'Leary was still around, and I believe they still edit it this way, but in Canada, each pitch doesn't get interrupted by a commercial break. Whereas in Shark Tank, you could be watching a pitch and they'll be like, oh, but it's time for a commercial, and then they'll come back to the same pitch.
Yeah.
Each pitch is contained within the same block, right?
Sure.
That pisses me off when I'm watching American television. It's like, oh, we've had 3 commercial breaks on the same pitch.
American television, they leave you on the cliffhanger.
It's so annoying.
It's usually on a cliffhanger. Like we're going to offer you, dun, 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 and then like they're about to say the money
Other than that, the shows aren't that different.
And then a bunch of meta.
That's like the biggest difference between the shows.
There's just like a lot of music and a lot of like dramatic like editing and the pans. And Dragon's Den, there's not as much of that. They do like let the guys like. I think I've seen like more. I don't know how to explain it. Like the pitches on Dragon's Den are like better. Like you actually get more of a sense of like what they're talking about. They're usually more like unedited.
Less sensationalist. I don't know.
Less sensationalized.
That's funny you mentioned
and then usually you get like actually worse ideas. Like the guys who bomb on Dragon's Den, like you actually like hear them out. Like you get to like listen to them. Like if this was American television, they probably just would have cut it out like completely. But here, like you actually get to see these guys. Like I don't know, one guy was like reinventing like stop signs and like red lights. Like that was his idea. It was like so terrible. But I've never seen anything on like the American Shark Tank like that.
I think there's 2 different Dragon's Dens, by the way. There's the Canadian one and the UK one, also. Just to be clear.
Yeah, I don't know which one that was. It could have,
Were they talking like British people or like Canadians? If Kevin O'Leary was on it, it was the Canadian one.
I guess they were British. I think that might have been the British one. Yeah, Kevin O'Leary's in the Canadian one.
Yeah, he got taken from the Canadian show to make Shark Tank. Americans paid him more, so he left, and then the Canadian version just got boring after that point. So I was forced to watch the terrible.
I might be talking about the British one then. I might not have even seen the one you're talking about.
The Canadian one has Kevin O'Leary on it for the first like 4 seasons or whatever, and it's great.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't realize there was like a Canadian version of Dragon's Den. That's funny. Because I've always known it as like the British one from years ago. I hadn't thought about that show in years, but yeah, that's like a good answer for this. That has some like funny episodes and like weird like products that are just on the shelves of supermarkets that were like, oh yeah, that was that guy of Dragon's Den. I guess he made it.
Oh, you have that. We have that for like Shark Tank, like as seen on Shark Tank. Stop and Shop.
Yeah. Kevin O'Leary was in the first 8 seasons in the Canadian one. And that was
cool.
I think the Canadian one might have been the first English one. So it's saying that the format originated in Japan in like 2001 under like a different name. So this, I'm looking at the wiki. It's like fucking every country has one, which is crazy. I mean, it makes sense. Like, why not? It's a good concept for a show.
It is a good concept.
2006 for the Canadian one, and then where can I find the UK?
Where does it say it began?
Wiki. Let's see, Dragon's Den, British television
2011?
program. Wow, Canadians did it first. No, original network. No, you got 2005 on BBC Two.
Oh no, 2005. Yeah.
We never do it first.
The American guys have like a lot of money. Those are all like billionaires on that show.
I mean, yeah, the Kevin O'Leary has a shit ton of money, and so Shark Tank was like, "Hey, you want to come over here on American television?" He's like, "Yes, I do," because of course he would. It's Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah.
Give him a better deal, of course. Who do you think it is?
Yeah.
Oh, he's so silly. He was gonna become our maybe like next Donald Trump sort of thing. He was thinking of running for prime minister, and then he was like, "Fuck, I have to learn French," and then just didn't.
Just gave up.
Mr. Wonderful.
Yes, he's so funny. He's my favorite
sayings.
Monster.
Got some good sayings. Not more Factor 6.
What's your guys' equivalent of like Love Island? Because that shit's huge.
We have Love Island.
I've heard about it.
I think it's called the same thing, or we just watch it.
I don't. It might be a different version. I don't know. I've never watched it.
Yeah, people tell me about it.
My brother told me about it. He says it's ridiculous.
Folks.
Yeah, kind of made me want to see it.
It's just all like drama.
It's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, it is a bunch of bullshit. A bunch of like fake fights, basically. But then,
it's reality TV.
Everyone loves it though in the UK. I was obsessed with it.
Of course.
I'll add it to my watch list.
Yeah, all fucking.
I gotta at least see one. You know, I gotta see what it is.
Jesus.
Maybe I'll find some YouTube clips.
Oh yeah, there'll be tons of YouTube clips. Just like really kind of trashy British people like arguing about just nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
I might have seen one episode, like a long time ago.
Who knows?
A couple years ago. Yeah, it was trash. Like, I can't remember. It's so forgettable.
Okay, let's do one more here then. From V for Volta. Are there any notable examples of movies you used to enjoy ironically that you now appreciate in a more serious way? The dangers of enjoying pure irony, I guess.
Jean Dielmand.
Maybe you'll just...
There we go, done.
Really? Would you considered it full irony when you first were watching it?
I mean, like, yeah, I considered it to be kind of a meme. I was like, there's a movie where a woman cleans her house for 3.5 hours.
Yeah, I suppose you can.
Right?
Yeah, that's not even that.
But then I had a much better appreciation for it on the second watch.
Yeah. For its actual meaning. Yeah.
Man, it's the only things I watch ironically are like real trash. Like I'm falling into that like just Phantom Menace like camp now. Like I'm just fully in. Like I'm so brainwashed. I wouldn't say like it, but if the question is saying appreciate in a more serious way, I find it endlessly interesting to hear people talk about it. But otherwise, I don't know. Yeah, it's done. It's fucking done.
You're done.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
I think we're done.
I guess we're done. Fuck. I'm still trying to decide what movie I want to recommend.
Episode last time.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's your turn, right?
I know. I'm having a time here.
Go ahead.
There's a few. I want to try something I haven't seen before.
I'm trying to think what we're going into the festive season. Something that's going to really remind us of Santa and all the.
Really though, I don't know if
Christmas.
I want to do that. You can do it. I think whoever Ralph, you're after me. You
no, please don't actually. I don't.
Yeah, I
don't really want Christmas movie marathon.
You don't want to do that. You want to recommend something like depressing?
I just want to recommend something I haven't seen before. There's some directors that we haven't talked about on the podcast, and especially after our, episode 100 poll, we've seen, a lengthy list of things that people would like us to talk about. We've got a bit of extra time because we're recording this one early.
True.
So should I? I'm trying so hard here. Okay, we're just gonna fucking do it. I've never seen this movie. It's directed by Bella Tarr. It's 7 hours and 19 minutes long, and it's called Satan Tango. That's not how you pronounce it, but that's how I pronounce it. Satatango.
Satan Tango.
Is it good?
That's what people say.
Okay,
Satan Tango
can hold my attention for that long.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to watch it in multiple chunks?
Oh, I don't know.
You have.
It's on my watch list already. Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you want to, I'm not going to stop you or anything. I'm probably going to pee at some point in 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I'll need to watch it at least a couple chunks.
Yeah. So.
Is this easy to find as well?
I don't know.
Do we know? Okay.
I didn't look that up. I was just like, I don't know. This is on my watch list. When the fuck am I going to watch it if not?
Yeah. When you have a
podcast thing.
I'm just thinking that live stream we did last time. That whole live stream, this movie would still be on.
Yeah, it'd still be going.
It'd still be going.
True. Bella Tarr.
Okay, this is interesting though.
1994. If you don't want to be spoiled for Satan Tango, watch it before the next episode. These episodes come out every 2 weeks. You can hear them early. Going to patreon.com/Sardonicast or Sardonicast.com and sign up for premium, only $2 a month. You get them as they're edited. We got merch also. It's Christmas time. Go get some merch, why don't you? Think of the children. All right, happy Shrek. And
okay.
Yeah, there we go. We did it. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye-bye.
101. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.